All right, Superman is on VOD, and now Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 1 is out on HBO Max and Max, or whatever the hell we're calling that app. So we are off to the races with the new DCU. Let's talk about Peacemaker Episode 1, how it was, what it means, and all the stuff. Also, my cat Mortimer is on my lap because he loves this show, because this contains one of the great pets, apparently, of the new DCU. So far, the second pet, I guess the first pet introduced, if you want to count the canon of Peacemaker 1, Eagly, who is back in this episode, plays a pretty important role because he, spoilers for the episode, and I'll say overall, good thoughts. I think the episode was good. I liked it. There are some things that it's doing about the season that I'm pretty interested in. There's other things that it's doing this season that I'm less interested in, but can be sold on. So we will see. But we get the idea in the opening that Chris is able to go to not just like his pocket dimension thing to get weapons, but he's able to go to it to just like hang out. And I love that because it is snowing and doesn't want to go outside. He lets Eagly just fly around in the pocket dimension. And what we didn't know was that it connects to other realities. And that is something that Peacemaker seems pretty cool with, considering how much this character does not seem like this would be something he'd be like. The idea that he has a pocket dimension at all is a little strange. I don't think it ruins Peacemaker or anything, but the idea that this character has like a gun, a shirt, a couple of magic helmets, and access to another reality, and not just another reality, but some sort of nexus of realities with doors that weird xenomorph guys come through to burn their little critters or whatever. And he's never explored that, it seems like he finds this whole thing by accident, which is cool. But it's funny that he's never going, let's see what else is here. One detail I loved about Shazam! Fury of the Gods is that one of the kids starts going through the doors. It's let's figure out where all these doors go in their Rock of Eternity. But in this Peacemaker, I guess it makes sense with him. He's got other stuff to do. And if they're all just going to be weird aliens, what's the point? Who cares? But Eagly finds another reality where they're also doing Peacemaker stuff. So Chris goes through the door, finds his father, played by Robert Patrick, who died in the last season, came back as a ghost at the very end, and kind of a hallucination in Peacemaker's head. But now it seems like his presence in the show is going to be just being the alternate universe version of the dad. But it would be funny if he had the alternate universe and then also in the same scene, other dad, Robert Patrick, yelling at him with racism. And we don't know a ton about this universe, but we'll talk about it. But that is the open for this season, and I think this is fun. And I think it sets up the conceit of this season pretty concisely. The idea that Chris, even though he was a hero, he still hasn't really found what he was looking for, and he finds a door to a universe where everything went right, and he's the kind of hero he always wanted to be, so he's going to have to come to terms with what that means, and then I'm assuming eventually give that up. A lot of people, including myself, thought that this would be how they bridge Peacemaker Season 1 and Peacemaker Season 2, with Peacemaker Season 1 being in the old DCEU and Peacemaker Season 2 being in the new DCU. And it would be something like he goes to an alternate reality where he dies in that reality, but then he just lives there and he's like, I'm in this reality. Kind of like that episode of Rick and Morty where everything goes Cronenberg and they have to find a reality where they could just kind of slip right in. Everything's the same except for them not being there. But instead, the answer to that question that I made a whole video on last year is just that in the previously on, they change it so that instead of seeing the members of the Justice League that we saw him see in Season 1, he instead sees the Justice Gang, and apparently also Supergirl and Superman. Now, it doesn't seem like either of them are full-time members of the Justice Gang. We don't get a great look at Supergirl, but it seems like she's wearing the same costume that she wears in the end of Superman, which would suggest that she's not wearing the Lord Tech costume, so she hasn't joined up. Interesting, no metamorpho, which is fine, because it seems like Season 1 of Peacemaker takes place in the past, I guess, before the events of Superman. We hear in episode 1 of Season 2, Rick Flag talking about the event and how that happened over the summer. But then you wonder how much time has passed between Peacemaker Season 1 and Peacemaker Season 2. It's not important. And we do get more Justice Gang. Maxwell Lord, played by Sean Gunn, makes an appearance here. And then we see Guy Gardner again and Hawkgirl again. And this time they are doing the tryout kind of interviews for the Justice Gang. It's interesting that Mr. Terrific isn't there, because maybe he quit, which I think would be smart for that character to start doing his own thing. So maybe he can do the Terrifics, which is kind of like DC's version of the Fantastic Four. Originally, they just bring these guys together. So you have the archetypes, a stretchy guy, a genius guy, a rock guy, a weird girl. Like, it's all just kind of a version of that. But then eventually they just kind of become a team of adventurers. Metamorpho's on that team. Mr. Terrific is on that team. I feel like they don't have to do this because Metamorpho seems like he is going to be on the Justice Gang. But I think it would be cool if Mr. Terrific, maybe because of the inaction of the Justice Gang or because of going like, yeah, Maxwell Lord, he's fine, but he's not really, it's not good to have him as a boss. I want to be more active, want to take a more active role in this world. If he recruits Metamorpho and starts doing that. But at this point, it just seems like those are the two actors that they could get or that they wanted to get. And it's fine. So anyway, and yes, I can see Mortimer over my shoulder drinking out of my gigantic water stein, which I have to start using because it's so heavy he can't knock it off of the table, but then it also gives him enough space to just dunk his whole head in and start drinking the water out of it. It's a lose-lose situation. But either way, I loved the Justice Gang audition scene. That is very fun. We've never seen anything like that in the MCU, I don't think. And you had just like auditioning to be an Avenger, but like you figure those exist. And especially the Justice Gang, because it's like pretty much a business. And I don't think I needed to be sold on Sean Gunn as Maxwell Lord, but I did like Maxwell Lord being kind of a jerk, but also asking Peacemaker, well, what about all those people you killed for not the right reason? And yeah, I thought that was good. That was clever. Also wild to see White Rabbit as a Batman villain. For people that aren't familiar, she can split herself into two versions of herself. In the original comic, I'm pretty sure the way they ran it was she was like just two different people, but both just kind of people. There was a recent comic that they did, like Birds of Prey, where it's with someone where Punchline was like a bathtub streamer. But in that, when White Rabbit splits into two people, the second version of her is like a dumb, kind of strong one, like the Hulk. So I don't know. I mean, I doubt we'll ever see her again, but that was fun. Also, a Batman villain. So like we've seen a couple of Batman villains in this universe so far. Polka Dot Man, who I do think is at least kind of canon now. Ratcatcher 2, Calendar Man, Dr. Phosphorus, and now White Rabbit. So no Joker, no Penguin, fine with that. Just these guys. Oh, we got to talk about the dance. So let's talk about the dance. Different-ish dance, but not super different. I think the first time I heard it, much like a lot of people online, based on reactions I saw, I didn't like it as much as the first season. Not just because it was different, but because the energy was different. Like, it wasn't just, oh, this isn't the same. It was like, this is going for something different. It's trying to be more emotional. It's almost kind of trying to tell a story. And maybe the choreography is supposed to be a little bigger, where in season 1, I would say the theme of it was this punk, like, we're the little guys trying to fight the man. Now I'd say the theme of the dancing and the music, the song is about like sadness and not being able to have what you want, which makes sense in this kind of story. I love watching the intro over and over and over and watching every individual actor dance to see who's best at it. I think last season, the obviously least good, and James Gunn said this in an interview, was Robert Patrick, which makes sense because he's much older than all the rest of them. And I think in that season, you were like, wow, Jennifer Holland's really good at this. And that was back when she was just like a member of the crew. Now it seems like she's been elevated to like second lead of the show. She has more dancing to do, and she is very good. I think she's very solid. I would say perhaps the least coordinated member of this troupe is Michael Rooker. And I would say maybe the two people that I was the most impressed with, Tim Meadows, who we'll see more of. I love him from SNL. Like, I think he's so funny. He, I think, did a good job. And then the actor playing Sasha Bordeaux, played by Saul Rodriguez, also a good dancer, doing a good job. Yeah, I think while maybe the beginning I didn't love, like, I think what I was kind of hoping was it would be completely different, where it'd be a different style, but it's not. They're doing the same kind of, arm flailing movements. But I think it really comes together at the end when the alternate universe characters come out and everybody comes back in. I don't know, I liked it. I'll say it looks like so much fun seeing them do this and like seeing the behind the scenes. Like, I don't have like aspirations to be an actor. I'm not a particularly good dancer, but like, it would be so cool to be in one of those seasoned dances, to just do it with everybody there. It's just, I don't know, it looks like so much fun. Let's talk about some stuff I'm not in love with. The Peacemaker hardcore romance. I feel like that almost half existed in season 1. And I'm not one of those people that's like, there shouldn't be romances and stuff. I like romances. I liked it, like that used to be the default. Then I would say around the 2010s, a lot of MCU stuff like Captain America, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy would be like, oh, is Black Widow gonna kiss Captain America? And like, no, they're friends. Is Star-Lord gonna kiss Gamora? It's like, no, they're friends. And they eventually became, but like, there was a while where it seemed like they were kind of going, but men and women can be friends. We can have platonic friendships here, working relationships. And that was where I figured we were with hardcore. But now it seems like they are going to really build up that relationship. We're going to see in the alternate universe, we don't have a name for it yet, let's say Universe 2, that Harcourt and Peacemaker are together, or at least were together. Now she's dating somebody else who is definitely Rick Flag Jr., but we'll see. It hasn't been confirmed yet. But, like, I don't know, I'm not sold on that relationship. I never wanted it in season 1. Like, I'm sure there were shippers and stuff, but I don't dislike either the characters necessarily. I just don't feel like the vibe we've gotten so far from both of them is romantic. I would say it's more platonic, but maybe they'll develop that in a way that I love. I don't know. I mean, we find out that they like hooked up or something in this episode, so that's interesting, but it didn't seem to work out, and I think that's fine. I would be fine with introducing a different love interest for Peacemaker, or maybe Vigilante or someone we've already got. Like, that would also be cool. I don't know. Let's talk about the alternate universe, Universe 2 or whatever. We see the two main characters from that universe, the dad and the brother. Dad, played by Robert Patrick. Originally, he was the White Dragon, who was a white supremacist. Doesn't seem like that's what he's going with here. I think there's two ways you can play it. Obviously, one way is he can just be nice in this universe and not racist. The other way is he can be better at hiding it, but that is still a part of his personality. I don't know which one is more interesting. I don't know which one feels cheaper to have, like, Chris come in to that universe and then Dad just turns racist, almost like because Chris is there, or Chris comes into that universe and Dad is cool and he's like, did I start? But, like, when Chris and the brother were fighting, they were doing, like, you know, kid fights in the back of it seemed like they were already in that world, but maybe we'll find out in their backstory, like, that something changed. I don't know, but interesting. His costume is blue in this. I don't know if he'll still be the White Dragon, but I think it could be interesting, because I just feel like that name is too clan adjacent, even in a universe where they're clearly good guys, which is what seems to be going on the second Earth. There is a character in DC Comics called Blue Devil, but he's very different from what this guy is. I wouldn't love it if they were like, this is the version of Blue Devil we're going to do, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they call him, because that's kind of what that character looks like. At least, like, that's what the blue version of the White Dragon looks like. They could call him Blue Dragon. I don't know. Then we have the brother. Most people know him from The Office. The actor's name is David Denman, and he is playing Chris's brother. Now, in this universe, he is alive. He is also a superhero. So let's say Blue Devil, or let's say White Dragon, is the dad. Peacemaker, Chris. What's this guy's superhero name? We see his outfit a little bit. He looks a lot like a red version of the Atom from the Arrowverse, played by Brandon Routh, like just that kind of costume. I wonder if they'll do like a Commander Steel or something like that, just based off of the look of it. There's a character called Rocket Red that they could maybe make this character, but then Rocket Red is traditionally like a Russian hero, kind of like the Red Guardian, so I don't think that would make sense. It'll probably be a new thing, like they'll probably give him a new identity, or like a superhero that's been named once or twice. But I'm always curious when a new character pops up with like a look. It's like, is this take on this or that? I loved John Cena in that scene. I thought it was terrific. Everything in the alternate universe where he was confused and also overwhelmed emotionally, great. I saw a thing, James Gunn said that the scene where he cries after talking to his brother, like John Cena was basically not planning to do that, but they were like, you know what, let's try it once with you crying. And then what ended up on the tape was the first take. Like, what we saw is just and that's a really strong choice. Like, he's just doing a really good job. I know I saw an article recently called Batista, our best wrestler turned actor. I think maybe he has more credits that are impressive, but I do think just like looking at what they've done, John Cena seems like he's just the best. I think he maybe doesn't have the range and he hasn't put in as many performances, but what we've seen from him from Peacemaker, I'm like, this guy could do a lot of different things, and he's probably kind of in this box of like being John Cena, so they're not going to cast him like the Bob Dylan biopic, but I think he's an actor that, when you look at like what The Rock was doing at this time in his career, like so different, and just really impressive. What else? The other characters didn't really do anything too exciting. They were all fine. Let's talk about the orgy. That was wild, like crazy to see. Obviously, we're not going to put clips of it here because it would all get demonetized, or it would be too much work to blur and stuff, because everything, like just everybody doing everything. Everything's visible, all different versions of different things. I would love for this video to not get demonetized. It's crazy to me that that exists in the same world as Superman. And like, a kid could watch Superman and then go, what's the next one of these? Oh, Peacemaker. Oh, it's got Green Lantern in it. Cool. And then you check it out and it's like, oh my God, that's a naked guy, a naked girl, naked guy, naked girl. And they're all going to town, like just wild. I will say one other thing about the humor in this show. It does seem like they went to kind of the Judd Apatow school of film a bunch of takes and see which one's the funniest. I think that can work. I think that is fun. But I also kind of worry that some of the times when that's improvised, it's just not, I'm just not into it. But like, I'll give you an example. And I don't know if this was what that was. Like, there's that one bit where Adebayo and Economos are just sharing information about the door to the other dimension. And she accidentally gets a picture from him that's not the picture you thought it was. And then he's like, kind of like, oh, it's not a dick pic, don't worry. And that's what it ends up being. We already did that joke. We did it in Peacemaker, where Adebayo accidentally, in a slide PowerPoint, like instead of showing what she was trying to show, showed a private picture, and that was a joke. And like B, I just feel like that has become kind of the default, not just that joke, but that kind of humor of like, whoops, it's a penis. It's like, so it just gets a little predictable, and I don't think it's as funny, I guess, as other stuff. I think there's like other versions of that joke that are funnier, and because in this point it's because I'm expecting it to be a dick pic, like I'm expecting that to be the punchline, doesn't work, so now the punchline be something different, something completely different, but still weird. So I worry that these jokes will feel samey. I think the toxic masculinity joke kind of played the same way for me. I like Freddie Stroma a lot. The owl joke kind of was that for me. I don't know. Like, this is a funny show, and I do think a lot of the times the humor works, but I think what's interesting about this show is even though it is a comedy, it's the drama that I really like, and the action, all that stuff I think is what makes this show really strong. And I'm not saying it's not a funny show, but I am saying, like, when I look back at the parts of the show that I loved, that's never the top of it. Sometimes they do pull off really solid jokes, but this kind of back and forth, I don't know. Let's talk about some of the things that are in the alternate universe. So we see the Ultra Humanite. He gets name dropped. That's exciting. Superman villain, so cool. We also see the Rainbow Creature, which is, I'm not sure where that one came from, but old comic villain. We get a lot of talk about imps, very imp heavy. Superman obviously also had an imp, and it was that big giant thing that we all thought would be the Star Eater, but instead it was apparently an imp. Now, imps usually are Mixie Spitlick or Batmite. They're creatures from another dimension, the fifth dimension, I think usually, and they kind of look like little cartoon guys, and they're a little silly, and maybe they break the fourth wall and like have incredible magical powers. It seems like that's kind of what they're talking about here, or at least what they're talking about in this episode is closer to that than it is a big giant ball in the sky. But it also feels like they're like more like little fairies from another dimension, which is fine. But like, I just would like a Batmite, or I think James Gunn's like a Peacemite or something. Like, if we're gonna do imps, that's what the imps are, and that's why they're fun. So I'd like to see them. Also, apparently this team that consists of Peacemaker, the dad, and the brother is called the Top Trio. Originally, I was like, oh, that's just like a name, like the Dynamic Duo. But it seems like Top Trio is their official name. And I don't know, just a weird, that's not usually how these are named. And I'm not sure what the thematic connection is between these three heroes, besides they all seem to have jetpacks and don't have superpowers, but I don't know, interesting. And then the fight between Chris and the alternate version of himself, cool. I like that. I like those awful stars. Oh my god, those are such a horrible weapon, and especially the way they like dig into. Ugh, and we probably can't show that either, but like that was pretty graphic. I do think one thing that I'm thinking about for the rest of the season, we have this setup of Chris is probably going to have to take his brother's place in this universe so that the other members of his family don't come wise and like come and get him for revenge, right? To kill him. So he's going to live out the life of the Peacemaker who got everything he ever wanted. I saw at least one or two people maybe on Twitter, Reddit or something, saying like, see, this is what you use a multiverse story for. You have a character seeing a version of themselves. Like, this is what we should have been doing the whole time. And I agree, but also like, this is what we've been doing for a lot of the time. This is what Flashpoint is. We're doing Flashpoint basically, but for Peacemaker. And I don't think the Flash movie was perfect or anything, but I do think the parts where it was doing Flashpoint and like Barry is sad about his mom, and is, that I like a lot. I think a lot of the time we're using the multiverse to introduce characters who we just got the rights to, but I do think that, like, we've seen this, right? This is Thor going back to talk to his mom in Avengers Endgame and getting sad, or this is Steve going to live with Peggy, but like we don't see the story of like the complications that come from that, like how that affects him. But like, I don't know, I'm not trying to say that I think this is a bad story. I'm just trying to say, like, the times where I saw people bring that up, it's like, this is what a lot of these multiverse stories are, is Flashpoint, is, It's a Wonderful Life, basically, is what this is. Oh, like, let's say Rick Flag Sr. I like where this character's positioned because he hates Peacemaker, but he's not a bad person, and like, he's not trying to frame Peacemaker or anything like that. He's trying to catch Peacemaker doing something bad, and Peacemaker does happen to be opening wormholes or whatever that were just a huge problem in Superman. I guess I like how annoyed he seems, and how just like, not just in over his head, but like exasperated with all this nonsense with it, I'm sure, is constantly being thrown at this character. We also get a cameo from Michael Ian Black's character talking about breakouts in Arkham and stuff. That's cool. That's cool. I guess we'll see that in the future. We haven't even seen Arkham in one of these yet, I don't think. So I'm excited to see what that ends up being. I don't know. All in all, I think season 1 of this show was very strong. I think season 2, I'm curious to see where it goes. I think the thing with season 1 and season 2 and where we are now, season 1, we did not know what the show was going to be about. Like, we did not know about the butterflies, alien invasion. Like, when we'd seen the trailers, it was not clear that that was what Peacemaker was going to be. I think we are in that place again. Like, I think with Peacemaker season 2, there's probably a little bit more going on, and this might be a very different kind of story than it seems like it is now. And I'm curious to see what that is. I do think also, I just want to throw this out there, because I don't think we're going to get a ton of cameos from, like, I don't think Superman's going to show up. I think he could, but I'm not convinced he will. I do think we might get introduced to Booster Gold here, because I think he's a very interesting character for Peacemaker to meet, because Peacemaker wants to be a hero. He's too violent, and he was raised in a way that was weird. Booster Gold also wants to be a hero, wants to be treated like a hero, but he is, kind of a grifter. So they're both like characters that don't get the respect they think they deserve. Maybe they would even start their own Justice League. Also, like, what's the Justice League? Are we ever going to do Justice League, or is it always just going to be Justice Gang? I only bring this up because, like, when it seemed like they were doing Justice Gang, and that was the name they were giving this team, it kind of felt like the reason they weren't calling them Justice League was because that was just a name they were going with for that one movie. And then eventually when Superman joins or reforms the team, he's going to be like, this is something else. We're Justice League. And that would be a moment. But now it feels like they just are the Justice Gang, and the Justice Gang is the Justice League. It doesn't have Superman and Batman and all of them on it, but like, it doesn't seem like if the Justice League ever exists, it'll be that materially different from what the Justice Gang is. So at this point, I'm kind of like, they should have just called it the Justice League, had that be a thing. You already have the Justice Society, it seems like, from that mural in Superman. So you have the Justice Society, the Justice Gang, whatever. In League, I don't know. But I do think that, like, we may see Kumail Nanjiani Booster Gold, which seems like that's who's playing that character in... it just feels right now. And I'm not trying to say this will be Cameo Palooza, but it is like a world that is built out and exists. So, like, I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see more of these characters showing up. So, yeah. I don't know what to expect from Peacemaker Season 2. I know, like, from what I've seen, this Flashpoint, like, It's a Wonderful Life angle, I think that's interesting. I am also curious if they're going to end up going in another direction, and I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. But overall, like, James Gunn, everything he's made so far in the superhero realm, all of it's at least been good. Some of it has been great. So I have faith that this show, like last season, will also be very good. You know what else is good? Nebula. And obviously, yes, the character Nebula is very exciting, but I'm actually talking about the subscription streaming service that I and a bunch of my YouTube friends helped to create. And basically, the pitch for my channel on Nebula, all my videos go up early and ad-free on Nebula. So, like, this video, you're watching it right now, it was on Nebula just maybe like a couple hours before it went live. But like my next video on my Nando V Movies channel, that's going to be up probably like a couple weeks early. So, like, you get access to the videos early, ad-free. Lots of other YouTubers you already like. Some of them who talk about comics and movies and stuff like that are already on this platform. You got Patrick Willems, Captain Midnight, Princess Weeks, just added Shay Frillis Productions, who I love, obviously, and we're always adding more. Then we also have originals that we do. These like really high quality productions. Sometimes they're like videos. We've done documentaries. We did a play once. We're doing a series soon that is a scripted drama. It's an anthology in the vein of Twilight Zone and Black Mirror, but instead of being about science fiction stuff, it's about complicated human relationships that take place in New York City. And one of the episodes, called Power Trip, was written by me, and Patrick Willems directed it. And I've been updating you guys in these little bits at the end of the videos as like the production's gone on. So we filmed it, and it looks incredible. The actors like blew me away, but you will see it and you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't have anything I can share right now, but trust me, when that comes up, you'll see it. And I hope we make behind the scenes things so you can see how we made it, because that part is also so cool. So that'll be out sometime in the near future. Can't say exactly when. Until then, you can watch, we just put out a series called Amy's Dead End Dream House by and starring Maggie Mayfish, with a bunch of people playing the weird puppet guys, because it's kind of like a Pee-wee's Playhouse thing. One of them being Paul F. Tompkins. That's really cool. And it's very fun. And again, it has the feel of one of those children's shows, but for adults about adult problems. And that is very cool. And we're putting new episodes of that out weekly on Nebula as well. And the best part is a yearly subscription to Nebula is a steal at $60 a year, it's $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, you can get Nebula for just $36 a year. That is $3 a month. It is an incredible deal. Go check it out. So thank you everybody for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you around.